Welcome. This is the fourth video in a series of short videos about effective conversations in child protection. These are based on the principles of motivational interviewing and collaborative communication and applied to child protection scenarios. This is part of practice resources developed to support the implementation of effective child protection. In video 4, we illustrate how a social worker encourages Ellen to talk about the change she wants to achieve for herself and her children, and together starts to help her define change statement. Ellen is mother to 3 children. There are concerns she's drinking, and this is affecting her ability to look after her children. Following a referral to Child Services, a Section 47 child protection investigation has been started. It will decide if the children are at risk of significant harm and whether the children should be discussed at a child protection case conference. This is her second interview with a social worker. It starts by acknowledging that since the first interview, Ellen seems to have been thinking a lot about her situation. One thing you may notice is that it isn't the tense interview that it could be. There is no real conflict or resistance in the relationship. Some of the principles of collaborative communication, or motivational interviewing, help to avoid resistance in these types of conversations. This video focuses on change. One of the terms used in motivational interviewing is change talk. The idea is that the more a person can be encouraged to talk about the change they want, the higher the likelihood they will achieve that change. In previous videos, we have talked about what makes for a good conversation. We've introduced the words OARS before. It stands for open-ended questions that draw out and encourage the conversation to develop, a style that affirms the person. You notice and acknowledge their strengths. This helps you counteract a focus on failure or limitations or risks that can create defensiveness and resistance. When you listen, make sure you listen reflectively. And during the conversation, summarize what is being said in an empowering way. These may sound like techniques to be used, but these are as much about the mindset of the practitioner, how they think, about the parent, about the risks, about what needs to change and whether they believe the parent is capable of achieving this. As you listen to this example, you will see these principles being applied. What the social worker does well generally is to keep the conversation focused on change. She asks Ellen how she'd like the future to be and focuses Ellen's mind on what would need to happen in order for that to be possible. There are 2 specific approaches from the effective child protection model that are illustrated in these videos. These are the change statement and steps to change. Towards the end of this video, you'll see the social worker helping Ellen to define what needs to change. This is called the change statement or statement of change. In effective child protection, we talk about focusing on 3 changes that are linked to the risk of significant harm. So how each change is worded and understood is important. You'll hear Ellen start to define one of her change statements during the conversation. Quite often during investigations and the first stages of child protection intervention, the statement of change is led by the practitioner, and often their words are used to define it. Over time, the parents are encouraged to explain the change in a way they prefer and to use their own words. In this example, the social worker summarises Ellen's own words about what needs to change. Let's see what you notice.
I can see that you've been thinking about what's been going wrong and what changes you need to make to keep the children safe from risk of harm. Tell me, how would you like things to change?
I'm so tired of feeling like this. I just want to be able to get up with the kids in the morning, get them ready for school, make a packed lunch, have everything organised. I used to make tea for everyone. I haven't done that in ages. I just want the house to be happy and the kids to like me.
So, you're feeling sad about the way things are, and it sounds like you've come to an important point of thinking about what's wrong and what you could do to change it. Say in a year's time, how would you want your life to be different?
No chaos. Just calmer. Me and the kids calmer. Having a routine. Proper meal times, bedtimes. Knowing where my eldest was and she was getting home on time. The younger ones to go to school without a hassle. No screaming and them actually listening. My eldest goes to school and she stays there and comes home on time. We'd have a better relationship instead of me just shouting all the time.
Okay, you really have been thinking hard about this, haven't you? And you've got a very clear understanding of what you want to change and how you wish things would be. It's so good that you can see what's affecting your relationship with the children and how you could work on making some changes that would really help. Where could you start, do you think?
I don't know. It's hard.
Okay, sometimes it's difficult to know where to start, and it can be scary too. I think you've already shown some strengths by being so honest and open, and that's really a good place to start. You've faced up to this now, so what do you think you could do next?
I could try and get my routines back.
What could you change to get your routines back on track?
Sort myself out.
Tell me more about that.
I just want to stay in bed and sleep. But I want to change that. I want to get up in the morning and be around with my kids. Getting stuff done.
I'm impressed with how well you understand what's going on and how open you are about it. Am I right that you want to see a different you and that you see negative things in your behaviour right now? Can you break that down for me and say how you will do things differently?
I've got habits that I need to break. I drink quite a bit. And that makes me sleep. I'm not good in the morning. I'm dopey and I'm just not with it.
Sounds like you want to give up drinking. How would you do that?
I need to stop having it in the house for a start.
What will be the good things that will happen when you do that?
I won't be drunk. Won't feel sick.
How serious does this feel for you?
Very. We can't go on like this. It's a wake-up call.
I can tell that you have strong feelings about dealing with this. Let's think about what the first signs would be that you are making these changes. What would be happening?
If I wouldn't be drinking, I'd be sleeping in my bed, not on the sofa. I'd be up doing things with my kids.
Thank you. That's great. I'd like to use some of your words, decisions and ideas to make a change statement. Please tell me if I'm getting anything wrong. Ellen will take active steps and do something to stop drinking alcohol because she recognises how it affects her ability to be the parent she wants to be and how this also affects her relationship with her children. Ellen wants to be sober and able to manage her home with good routines and no chaos. She wants a closer and calmer relationship with her children so that she can keep them safe from the risk of significant harm. How does that sound?
It's what I want, isn't it?
What did you notice? I think there are 3 main areas of interest. We've talked about what the words "ors" represents. The social worker was using open questions that expanded the conversation and gave Ellen an opportunity to describe the future she'd want to achieve. We saw this in the way Ellen became buoyant about the future of no chaos and the children liking her. Her body language changed. You would have noticed the opportunities the social worker took to affirm Ellen. The purpose was to reinforce that Ellen could do this and was already achieving things. The other main point was how the social worker kept going back to the question of change. Keeping the conversation from going off course, getting back each time to what needed to change and how Ellen visualised the future and how she could achieve it, could be described as using the techniques of open-ended questions, affirming and summarisation, but always with an intent to focus on change. To amplify that change talk we've spoken about. The last point was that the social worker was also quite clear about getting to a position with Ellen where some sort of change statement had been developed. You may want to see this as making the first draft plan, which you know you'll change and amend, but at least you've made a start together. What are the key learning points from these examples? In this video, we saw good use of these principles of what makes an effective conversation. The social worker was interested in how Ellen understood her situation and how Ellen wanted to describe the future she wanted for the children. The social worker didn't impose her own ideas on Ellen. If she had done so, it is likely that Ellen would have become resistant or paid lip service to the social worker's ideas. The social worker listened to and responded to Ellen's words. We heard the use of no chaos and how the social worker tried to stay true to Ellen's understanding of her situation when they summarised the change statement. In this example, we showed these general techniques associated with collaborative communication and motivational interviewing being applied to effective child protection. One of the most important parts of the model is getting to the change statement. In order to do so, we need to avoid generating resistance among families. These techniques can help us avoid generating this defensiveness and resistance which makes our work with families so difficult. Of course, we can learn these techniques on courses, but one of the challenges in child protection is being able to use them when it counts, when conversations are at their most tense, when they could so easily get difficult and ineffective. How can social workers make sure they practice this way when the stakes are at their highest, when there are risks to be managed, when they are nervous and when the activity is so important? Reflective practice can help us make sure we can use these skills in 3 ways. We can reflect on situations we have experienced and critically evaluate how we were able to apply ourselves in the moment. It can help us understand what really happened in our practice and feed into the second type of reflective practice, which is to reflect to prepare for a situation you are facing so that you rehearse, how you intend to respond, anticipating what you may think will happen, how you'll avoid pitfalls such as criticising or managing conflict. You may be doing this from your prior experience with a family, or you may be reflecting just on the basis of your expectations of the discussion that you'll have. To reflect in is to be able to simultaneously, during conversations, be part of the conversation as well as to have a more objective oversight about what is happening. For example, what is happening to you? How are you feeling? What does body language tell me? Developing this higher level of awareness is useful as conversations capture you and you can get into the pattern of responding automatically. The body language example is useful. Can you be part of the conversation whilst at the same time notice what their body language is telling you? Another example is hearing yourself justify your role or to criticise the parent. If this happens, what does that tell you? We have discussed some skills and techniques for motivational interviewing and collaborative communication. These can be learned and practiced. However, the challenge is often not skills, but mindset. How the practitioner thinks about the parent, about the risks, about what needs to change, and whether they believe the parent is capable of achieving this. These are features of the practitioner's mindset. In the earlier videos, we looked at contrasting styles to conversations. We saw a difference between confrontation and conflict, and a more collaborative approach. In those demonstrations, the practitioner had a preconceived belief about the parents. This was clear in the criticism and labelling that we saw. As part of the preparation, practitioners can reflect on their beliefs about families and immediately before starting any conversation check what mindset you are bringing to the conversation, one of collaboration and hope, or one of criticism and hopelessness. Reflect on your mindset and whether this will enable you to work effectively with the family. Reset your mindset if you need to. This video is part of the Practice Resources for Effective Child Protection. There is more information about the Effective Child Protection Model and the Change Statement in the Practice Resources under the category of Change. There is more information about reflective practice in the Practice Resources. Other videos in this series are available to explore effective communication. These focus on areas such as dealing with hostility, discussing an allegation against a father, disagreement about the recommendation in a report, confirming the change statement and building steps to change. Additional handouts are also available for you to download in the Practice Resources section.